even in person. It's a pleasure to be here and to have you all for this very exciting and important opportunity, which is providing care during non-standard hours. Buenas tardes, noches a todas. Yo soy Paula Gaviria Villarreal, soy la directora de los programas relacionados a todo lo que es Childcare en la oficina de la primera infancia en la ciudad de Boston. Algunas de ustedes me conocen o por email o por teléfono o hasta en persona. Es un placer estar aquí para aprender más sobre esta gran oportunidad que es poder ofrecer sus cuidados, sus servicios de educación y cuidado infantil en su Family Childcare durante un horario no estándar o horas fuera de lo normal, digamos. Entonces, hoy tenemos servicios de traducción al español. We have translation in Spanish. And I will have our translator. Le voy a dar la palabra a nuestra traductora, Emily, para que antes de que arranquemos con toda la información, les explique cómo se pueden unir al canal en español.
Buenas noches a todos, mi nombre es Emily y voy a hacer la interpretación en español. En un momentico vamos a encender la función de interpretación, pues verá a la parte inferior de la ventana de Zoom un icono de un globo en la barra de herramientas abajo. Haciendo clic ahí se va a conectar con la función de interpretación y puede escoger el idioma que prefiere. Si se está conectando con móvil, tiene que empujar los 3 puntitos, de ahí escoger interpretación, pues su idioma preferido, inglés o español, pues listo o done, y ya está conectado. Si tiene cualquier dificultad, por favor comunícase con nosotros en el chat. Disfruta de esta presentación. Gracias.
Gracias, Emily. Thank you, Emily. And before we start, I want to introduce Farah El-Khadidi, my colleague at the Office of Early Childhood. She is the Childcare Operations Manager, keeps us in line. And I will introduce Alejandra Tejeda and Santiago Rivera, who are in charge of running the Care That Works pilot. Y les voy a presentar ahora a Farah El-Khadidi, que es la encargada de todo lo administrativo en la oficina de la primera infancia. Y le voy a pasar el micrófono a Alejandra Tejeda y a Santiago Rivera, que son los encargados del Care That Works pilot. Nada más, si tienen preguntas, if you have any questions during the presentation, please write them in the chat. At the end, we will have some time for a Q&A. Si tienen preguntas o comentarios durante la presentación, por favor pongan. Al final tendremos un espacio para preguntas. Farah, please turn channel on. Ya está disponible la interpretación al español.
All right, perfect. Are we good to go? All right. So I'll introduce myself and then Santiago, and then we'll start sharing the screens. Oh, perfect. Santiago already did, which is great. So my name is Alejandra Tejeda. I'm the Family Childcare Coordinator with SEIU Local 509. And Santiago, if you would like to introduce yourself as well.
Sorry, working on a few things here. Santiago Rivera, part of the SEIU 509 team.
We can't see the screen. I don't know if it's only me, but I see just that started sharing screen, but I don't see the slides.
Give me 1 second.
Sorry, folks, give us 1 second. Somehow Zoom is still not the most easy thing for us 3 years into a pandemic lifestyle. Zoom still is a struggle for everyone. So we'll get these slides up in just a second. And I do see a comment in the chat. I'll have Santiago work on following up with you on this. Oh, perfect.
Please put yourself in mute. Por favor, pónganse en mute durante la presentación. Gracias.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so we're here to talk about our Care That Works non-standard hour care childcare pilot. So if you could go to the next slide, Santiago. So Care That Works is a coalition. One more, back one. There we go. So Care That Works is a coalition of unions and community organizations that represents families and childcare educators. We're seeking to kind of crush the childcare barriers for parents who are entering or working in construction union careers. So primarily our focus is with the construction trades and those entering like building pathway programs. You can go to the next slide, Santiago. All right, so here's a little bit about our program and what we're interested in. So we're looking for family childcare educators that can open between the hours of 5 a.m. and 5:45, and that would have at least one child from our program in order to be eligible for the stipend that you would receive from the Education Support Fund, in addition to either the private pay that the family would give you or if the child is a voucher. So we offer a stipend that is in addition to your payment from either the voucher system or the family. You can take over from here, Santiago.
Perfect. So I'll go over a bit. Oh, 1 second. I have some folks coming in. So I'll go over about the payment. So like Alejandro was explaining, this is in addition to whatever the family or the system is paying. For the stipend for one child for early morning care would be an additional $800 a month. For any additional child, it would be an additional $400 a month. That means, for example, one child, $800, 2 children would be $1,200. It basically is 800, an additional 400, an additional 400, an additional 400. And again, this is on top of whatever pay you're receiving from family or system. So licensing and regulations. So we assist providers interested in joining the pilot and retaining a change to their license through a variance. It's very simple. We have, once you fill out the interest form, we send you out 3 documents. It's the W-9, it's a contract of the pilot, and then we send a variance form, which you simply just upload to your EEC.
Hola, Isi Nuño por aquí.
Hello, buenas, Marisol, gracias. So we're basically what we do is we forward this document to you. You can upload it to your EEC portal. Usually within a week or 2, we'll hear back. You should hear back from your licensor. What we recommend educators to do is to just send a text message, if possible, to your licensor or coordinator and say, hey, I just submitted a variance. Can you please take a look at it? And usually within about a week or 2, you'll receive back a copy of your license, which states you have the approval to work non-standard hours. And that document is very important because it protects you in case, anybody ever wants to verify why you're opening extra hours. You have this document to protect you. And how to join. Very simple. We have a interest form here. You can actually scan the QR code. I'm also, Alejandro, if you could please put our contact information in the chat, that would be great. If you would like to contact us directly through a phone call or text, I'm more than welcome to fill you in a little more information and provide you the details. But we'll have, like I said, it's a contract in I-9, and the variance request form is 3 documents. And once we have, it's very important that we get these documents in place. Once you sign these out and return them, what we'll do is Helen will be in touch with you guys to ensure that we can connect you with a family that's either in the area or traveling in the area, has either lives or is working in the area. We'll coordinate that. But Helen is the main focus for coordinating with families. So we're just focusing on retaining and getting some folks from the educator side. Oh, and here's our contact. Perfect. So Helen Barrios would be that would be your second point of contact once we get our documents in place. My contact is below. S Rivera at SEIU509.org. You can call, text. We also have a WhatsApp group. You can also use WhatsApp. That's our phone number there. And then we can discuss if you have any questions. We can open the floor.
Thank you very much. So, and remember, we will be sharing the slides and the recording will be available. But now it's open for any questions. And you can either write them in the chat, or raise your hand or unmute yourself. Sorry, my pronunciation was not correct. I can't hear you. I don't know if I'm the only one.
She's probably in the other channel, maybe.
I'm here. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, I signed up maybe a year ago with Santiago. I did the application. I uploaded everything to EEC, and it's still sitting in the queue.
Kiona, is that from your EEC portal? It's just sitting there. You
Yeah.
haven't heard back from your coordinator.
Nope.
Okay.
It's
Do you
just
have
sitting.
any type of connection with your coordinator? Do you speak to her frequently?
My licensor, basically, I guess the licensor I had left. So I'm not sure who I have now. But it's been sitting for a long time.
Okay, so I would definitely recommend you reaching out to your agency and seeing just to verify, who's handling your your licensing, and see if they can at least take a peek in there and let them know I have a variance. I've been waiting. It's been a while. Usually they're pretty responsive. It's something very simple. It takes just minor steps, but I would definitely recommend give me a call as well. Just give us a call maybe next week. Once you send that email out or phone call, if you hear from anyone within a day or so, just give us a phone call and we'll see what we can do as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I would also say if the problems persist, we can also reach out to your regional director. And I can reach out to them to see if that might help resolve and push along the issue faster. If reaching out to your licensor doesn't help.
Thank you.
So we have some questions in the chat. There's one from Mayrelis that says, if you already have the families and you open during those times, what is the next step? So are the families from the construction union, Mayrelis? Do you want to unmute yourself and ask a bit more?
Hola, buenas noches a todas. Mi pregunta es la siguiente. Si ya tú tienes el horario y tienes el permiso por la licenciadora para las horas no estándar, en mi caso, yo abro a las 5:45 y tengo las familias que llegan a las 5:45 de la mañana. Tengo 3 familias que llegan a ese horario. ¿Cuál sería el paso a seguir?
Okay, yeah, I can take that one. So we'll have you reach out to Helen to see if those families qualify.
Alejandra, do you mind just repeating that in English if you don't mind? So,
Oh, yes.
thank you so much.
Yeah, so her question was that she's already opening around that same time frame currently, and she has about 3 families that are entering around that time. So she's wondering if those families would qualify for this. So we would have you reach out to Helen to see if those families qualify. So we're specifically looking for a few different types of families, specifically in the construction trades, but we're a little flexible when it comes to the word trade. It could be like a pipe fitter or electrician, one of those type of construction trades, or in a building pathways program, which means they're in the process of entering the trades. So if they're one of those families, we can connect them to Helen and see if they qualify for the pilot. And if they do, we can absolutely put them in the program so that you can receive the extra payment. But if they don't qualify for these specific job ranges, then unfortunately, no.
Celia, I see you have your hand raised. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, all my paperwork is in. Everything has been approved from EEC. I reached out to Santiago. I spoke to him. I asked him if he got my documents, and I wasn't sure if he said yes or no, but he told me to reach out to Helen. I called, I text, I never get an answer back. So that's where I'm at.
Hi, Celia. It's Santiago speaking. We're gonna follow up with, I believe Helen has been out for a while. That's we also got our out of office email today. But we're gonna try to figure it out. I will be in touch with you tomorrow, but
Okay.
we'll push this forward to see what's going on with your documents and where we stand.
Okay, because I send you everything and I've been calling. It's been 3 months now. I'm ready to go.
Okay, we know. Yeah, it's been a little slow with the recruitment of families, but we'll definitely be in touch to see what updated families we have at the moment. If you've sent the documents, I definitely have them. So no worries on that piece. We'll make sure that that either Helen or myself get in touch with you this week.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I took a quick check on our list, and you're definitely on the list, and you have your paperwork that Santiago confirmed, it looks like. So you're all set on our side. It's just waiting to find a family to send over to you. And I think this is probably a good bit to cover just on if you've already submitted paperwork and you have your variance and everything done, you're all set on our end. And we have you on a list of educators that have spaces. And ever so often, Santiago will reach out to see if you still have spaces as we're looking to connect you to families. So Helen's job is to find the families and connect them to the list of educators that we have growing. We are constantly working on that. So I do see a question on the chat on how long placement takes, and that varies very much. Just because this is it's based on the family's kind of desires on where they want to place their child, on what neighborhoods they'd like, also where they work. So construction is one of those industries where some people would like to have their childcare near their job site, or they'd like to have it near their home. And so some families just take a longer time to match with an educator during the process. So it can take from anywhere from when we get a family that qualifies and is able to match quickly, it could take 2 weeks, or it could take a bit longer, as we've seen some educators just take longer, just based on the fact that we might not have necessarily as many families in your area or that are looking for kind of care in your, like I said, in your area, or maybe that works for their time frame.
And there is a follow-up that says, do we get the $800 even if we don't have a family?
So no, so you have to have at least one family from our pilot. So one family directly connected by Helen to be to receive that $800.
There's another question in the chat that says, do you have to offer both early morning and late evenings, or can we just offer evenings? I came late, and I'm sorry if this was already answered.
Yeah, so currently we've been offering early mornings, and we've been mainly seeing demand for early mornings, but we don't have a problem adding you to the list and saying that we have an educator that is able to stay open later. That isn't a problem for us.
We want to remind we're pretty flexible in terms of for parents to choose their own hours, in terms of, there's no requirements as you have to do morning and you have to do evenings.
There's another question. What is the payment process like?
Great question, sorry. So the payment process is I create the invoices every month. So how it typically works is Helen at the end of the month will send you a report that says how many children from our pilot do you have in your program. You would submit it on a form, it would get sent over to us, and then I fill out the invoice every month, and it gets sent over to our administration team, which is the Education and Training Support Fund, and probably around mid of the month, so around the 15th typically is when educators would receive their payment.
And then we have another question that says, does this include MBTA employees? So do they count as in the construction business or?
You know, I would defer that more to Helen. So Helen deals directly more with the families. So if you do have a question about that, feel free to just shoot Helen an email and add Santiago to it, and we can just make sure that they qualify. We've given flexibility to certain families, so there might be a possibility where we could let an MBTA family. Our core focus though is construction and trades, but we've let other families in from time to time. Not often. It's not always, as our preference is construction, but feel free to just send a message to Helen and put me and Santiago on there, and we can follow up.
And we will send an email to everyone with your contact information, if that's okay, Alejandra. Awesome.
Then another question that says, can you choose how many hours you offer? For example, I currently open now 9 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't want to restrict kind of your individual small business kind of power, in the essence that if you only want to work from, let's say, 5:30 to 2 or 3, we can set that as your time frame for this pilot. That is absolutely what you can do. And we put that in kind of like in the spreadsheet that we would have that you would only work for these hours, or however many hours you have in your kind of schedule. And then the attendance or enrollment question. So we don't look over how many times a child comes into your program. If you say the child is enrolled in your program and is attending, that is all that matters to us, to ensure that these parents are receiving the ability to receive care. That is the most important part to us. If they're not coming every single day, that does not matter to us. What matters is that when they are going to work and when they need care, they have access to the early morning care so that they can get to work or can get to their trade program.
There was a question in Spanish that says, is this money like extra from what EC pays us per child? And yes, so EC will continue to pay you for the voucher or the subsidy, and this would be on top of it.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Sí, por favor. Este programa entonces tiene unas familias clasificadas para poder aplicar. Te pongo un ejemplo. Si yo tengo una familia que necesita entrar, supongamos, a un Dunkin' Donuts que abre a las 5 de la mañana o a las 6 y me tiene que dejar el niño a las 5:45, por ponerte el ejemplo, ella tiene que estar a las 6 en su trabajo. Ella no clasifica, porque he escuchado que dicen que tienen que ser plomeros, electricistas y demás, o que no califica todo profesional, que son en específicos X profesionales.
Yeah, so I'll translate the question really quickly. So her question was, if families, let's say, for example, that work for like Dunkin' Donuts or a different kind of profession like that would qualify for this pilot. And so the answer to that is no. You have to be in these specific kind of trades. So we're looking specifically for the trade programs, or either in the trade programs like building pathways or in a construction trade. So you're a journeyman, journeyman person, you're working in construction, electrician, pipe fitters, one of those union jobs are who we're focusing on.
Remember, if you have questions, you can unmute yourselves or write them in the chat if that feels more comfortable.
Hello, I have a question. My question is that program is only for family childcare or include the centers?
That would be for family childcare.
Yeah, but we can also reach out. You can reach out to Helen. There's a center that's opening soon from one of our family childcare providers that is interested as well. So we're open to centers, but this has been primarily for FCCs, for family childcare educators at the moment.
Thank you.
Ok, tengo una pregunta.
Sí, Luisa.
Luisa, ok, mi pregunta es, ¿las personas tienen que inscribirse con ustedes o tienen que tener voucher o cómo trabaja eso? Para o sea, vamos a suponer que yo conozca un plomero. O sea, casi son las mamás que tienen como la custodia de los niños. O sea, casi no hay mamá que sean plomeras ni nada de eso. O sea, nada más sería para los hombres, porque prácticamente casi siempre son los hombres que trabajan en construcción. Son muy pocas mujeres que traen ese tipo de trabajo.
Yeah, so Louisa's question was around how does the process go for a parent to kind of sign up? If they're going through the state, who are they going to sign up and what is the process? And then she was just saying that oftentimes like the father is more of the plumber or the construction worker more than the mother. And so kind of to answer that question, so we do have a parent form. It might take a second for me to find it, but we do have a parent form that you can send out to parents that they can fill out if they're in need of childcare and would like to be involved with the pilot. And it makes it much easier if they're already in your program. So we can put that in the chat in a few minutes. And that would go through us. So Helen is the person that intakes every single family to ensure that they qualify for the pilot and that we can match them to one of our active educators that is interested. And then, so part of the reason why we created this program in regards to kind of the second part of Lisa's comment was because we do see that it is hard for women to get into trades, partially because of the different hours and partially because childcare is a struggle. So part of the reason we have this is to allow access to women of color in the city of Boston to these jobs, because we do know that a lot of these construction union jobs are good jobs that could progress and make opportunities for a lot of families in the city of Boston. So we're hoping that by having access to childcare, there are women that are able to enter the trades and enter construction and other high earning fields for their families.
And we have some questions in the chat. So will you send the families directly to us?
Yeah, so it's a combination. So how it works is typically either Helen will know automatically, this is a provider right next to you. You can reach out to them directly, or I can reach out to them for you. So it either is going to be Helen that will just send you a text, give you a call, or will just give the family, just like they would normally do, is just reach out to you and say, hey, I would like to open earlier. I'm in the trades. Do you have a slot for my child? So it's either going to be through Helen or the family themselves will reach out to you to make the connection. Yeah.
Sí, Maritza.
Sí, esto agregando a lo que estaba informando Alejandra, en experiencia de compañeras que están trabajando ya el programa piloto aquí específico en East Boston. Sí, las proveedoras se han comunicado con Ellen y han dejado saber que están dispuestas a acogerse a este programa piloto y en determinado flexibilidad con los horarios requeridos para las familias. Y de esa manera está funcionando también mucho en beneficio para las familias y también para nuestras educadoras que están dispuestas con estos horarios. Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Marisa. Oh, Paula, do you have that?
I was going to translate quickly.
Okay,
So
Marisa
was sharing that some of the family childcare providers in East Boston that are already enrolled in the program that it's working wonderful, and I'm summarizing, but that it's working for them, y that it's a great opportunity. So
So I just threw in the chat the link to our interest form as well as the website, so the Care That Works website, so you can learn more about the pilot, as well as give the interest form interested. Any other questions or comments?
Where do we get the information about who qualify as parents?
So that comes directly from Helen, and I can connect with Helen to see to have her give you an email back just about who qualifies. That is very we don't have like a strict who qualifies, because we do want to try and make some flexibilities for families that might meet those hours but aren't necessarily in a building trades program at the moment, but might be transitioning into one. And so even if you have a family that might be working a different job but is looking to transition into the trades and would like to attend building pathways or would like to start working at a union, we can have some flexibility there. But we don't have like a strict list of all of the different jobs and trades. So just feel free to send us an email, and Santiago, I think, put our information in the chat. And you can just feel free to follow up with us, and we can send you, if you have like a specific family in mind, we can follow up.
Okay, well, I want to present to them too what it is you're offering, and that coming from the job, that they could understand if then within that field they could apply for it.
Yeah, I would say if you think you have a family that might be able to apply, just send them over. We don't have any problem just going through the list and just reaching out to them and communicating with them. If they don't qualify, it's all right. But if they do, it's good they applied. So I encourage you, if you think there's a family that might be interested or could apply, just send them the interest form and we'll follow up and kind of do that process.
Okay.
sí, Elsa. Se puede eso, quitar el mute para hacer la pregunta. Si no, también la puede escribir en el chat. So, while we wait for Elsa, ahí está.
Okay. Sí, buenas noches. Yo tengo una pregunta. Hace muchos años, este programa es nuevo para muchas de las colegas. Yo tengo muchos años trabajando en cuidado infantil y mi licencia dice que puedo trabajar, pero dice horas no tradicionales. Entonces, en este cosa yo estoy un poquito confundida porque dice como programa piloto. Entonces, no sé si es el mismo, yo estoy en el mismo nivel de las compañeras o yo estoy en diferente programa. Porque mi licencia sí especifica que yo tengo para trabajar, pero es horas no tradicionales, que supongo que es antes y después, o si quiero trabajar el fin de semana, o si quiero trabajar durante las noches. Eso es el programa de ustedes.
Yeah, so I'll translate really quickly. So Elisa's question was regarding the fact that her license already has non-standard hours on it, and if this is kind of like the right space to be in. And yes, before we started this pilot, there were many educators that had the non-standard hour variants already on their license or have their license upgraded to show that they can do non-traditional hours. So this is a perfect space, because if you've already done that, then you don't have to do the variance process because your license is already updated to show that you do non-standard hours or that you're able to. So that is perfect.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing that there are no more questions, and you know that if you have more questions, you can always reach out to Alejandra, Santiago, Helen, myself, Farah, and we'll find someone to answer and to provide the support that you need. But if there's no more question, oh, there's another question. What is considered
Ya,
non-traditional
déjame ver.
hours?
Yeah, so non-traditional hours we just consider outside of the normal like 7, 8 to 4 range. So if it's your opening, non-traditional really is like 5:30, 5:45, that time period where you're opening, we consider that non-traditional because most people aren't dropping off their kids that early, as well as like those that might be willing to do evening care 6 or 7 p.m. for like having a child at your home or even later at night. That would be non-traditional.
Stephanie?
Yes, I had sent in my new license about, I would say 2-3 months ago, and no one get back in contact with me. I sent it to Santiago.
Sorry, if you sent it to Santiago, likely we have you on the list, and it's just Helen's waiting to connect you with the family. So if you sent all of your paperwork over, you are all set with Santiago, and you are on the list. So you're all set.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
I'll double check, and Santiago will double check tomorrow just to make sure I'm not lying, but I think I see your name.
Yeah, I have her here. I'm looking at the document list. Yes, Stephanie, we have your files and we have all your documents. Once you submit all your documents, like Alejandro had just said, we're just waiting for Helen to make that connection with families.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
We have another question in the chat that says, how is this program being advertised or I imagine it's like marketed so that the people in these industries know about it?
Yeah, so part of Helen's job is to also go out and do advertisement to individual unions and trades, as well as building pathways programs. We also have connections to, our coalition is pretty big, so we have connections to most of the unions, and so we advertise it to those families. And then on the educator side, 509, we advertise it to all of those that are in our bargaining unit. So anyone that has at least one child with a voucher, we send out emails every couple weeks about this. We also have in various WhatsApp groups, we send out emails about or messages about the non-standard hour. And then we try and have these quarterly with the city of Boston so that we can also use this as a different form of marketing to recruit more educators, as well as give it a way for families to find out about it. Because likely is that you guys will share this information to some families so that even more people will learn about it today.
Viola, I have a question. So that was me asking that particular question. But my question is, you keep referencing pilot. So when you say pilot, and it sounds like other people have been on the list for a while, pilot meaning it's been around for less than a year, or like what? Like maybe you can break that down and kind of.
Yeah, so our pilot started out as a 3-year-long pilot, and we're actually just entering the 4th, but we started during the pandemic. So we started in 2020, so everything we've kind of just prolonged. And due to some incredible funding that we were able to receive from the city of Boston through ARPA funds, we're able to kind of keep the pilot running even longer. So it's very much a long-term pilot. It was always meant to be at least a 3 to 4 year long project where we could look at the impact that having early care has on families in the city of Boston.
Okay. So with that being said, has there been an extreme need for the services, or is it kind of plateaued, or are you finding that people who are actually in the trades aren't aware? Like, I'm just trying to understand the background.
Yeah, so I think we have a mixture of different things. So we've had I would say there are certain families just don't know enough about family childcare, so there's not a lot of comfort with some families. A lot of times what we've seen happen is that just the ability to choose an educator in the process of kind of choosing an educator is really complex for families. And so that presents usually the biggest issues that families at times, what we've seen is that location might not always be the best for certain families. The educator fit might not work. So we're trying to grow the pool as big as possible so that families have a lot of options to choose from. Also recognizing the fact that for many educators, their slots fill up fairly quickly as well. So while we might have educators on the list, at times some educators will not have slots open. So we'll lose certain areas in the list. And so it is just an ebb and flow of just kind of the fact that childcare is very it just flows very differently all of the time. And there are different needs in different areas kind of every season.
So I see a Zoom user with a hand raised. I don't know your name, but can you please unmute yourself to ask the question?
Sí, yo creo que agregando nuevamente lo que informó Alejandra, ha sido una iniciativa, este programa, y más de oportunidad, porque en determinadas áreas están los cupos completos en nuestros programas, y cuando llegan las familias a las entrevistas, lo primero que se debate en la póliza es los horarios. Y ellos han encontrado de cierto modo una gran oportunidad a través de este programa piloto, porque ya se están dando cuenta que los programas están siendo a través de este programa flexibles en los horarios que realmente las familias necesitan, porque tenemos que entender que ellos también necesitan su trabajo. Entonces, para ellos ha sido muy positivo la oportunidad de beneficiarse a través de este programa. He escuchado muy buenos comentarios de las colegas en cuanto a este programa.
Thank you very much, Maritza. So Maritza is saying that from her colleagues in East Boston, she has heard very good reviews about participating in this pilot program because there is a need for this extended hours on the family side, and educators like herself have received children through this pilot and they're very satisfied. Thank you, Maritza. Gracias, Maritza. Catalina, ¿quieres hacer tu pregunta? ¿Te puedes quitar el mute, por favor? Y si esto se está complicando, la puedes hacer en el...
No, disculpa, fue que se me levantó la mano para escribir mi nombre. Todo bien.
Then I did think there was a question that I didn't get to, which is, do we have a sense, do you see this program running for another 3 years? So we hope that this program becomes something that is long-term, because the need is definitely there, not just for the construction trades, but just in general. But what we do need is that there is additional funding for educators to open at these hours, which is why we're kind of we've created this program both to highlight the need from families, but also to highlight that educators should be paid more for this essential work. And that, so we're hoping we can continue to have this pilot, but we're also hoping that at some point the state, via EEC or whatever mechanism, finds a way to encourage either a greater reimbursement rate for families, or an additional stipend that would come through the state. So we're hoping to keep this program running as long as possible, and we're constantly doing funding and different things on the back end to keep the program running. But we're hoping this one day becomes kind of a permanent fixture within the state structure, that educators are paid more for opening in non-traditional hours to encourage families to be able to work when they need care, instead of just having to leave their children in maybe not as great situations. And I think there was one more. Let me just go back and look. Do we have a sense of where the need is the highest right now? So this is where also it varies. So for our building trades, like program. We have there are cycles that happen. So Building Trades specifically is a nonprofit that focuses on getting people of color and just people in general into the trades. They have a cycle program that goes basically every spring and winter, and every spring and winter they have 2 different programs run, and so we tend to see families come in during that time period, and that's right after they also tend to look for jobs. So we'll see ebbs and flows where right around kind of the spring and in the fall when they're going into their programs, they need care. So the parts of the city, not specific. We have had literal from literally every corner of the city, we've seen need. So that's why we're trying to recruit as many educators as possible, so that when we do have these families come in during the cycles, we have the number of educators that kind of match the need. But also it's a mixture of matching the need, but also matching the needs of the family. Like I said before, a lot of families, rightfully so, are very picky about where they want their child to receive their education. And so having a lot of educators makes it possible for these families to have the ability to have choice and more kind of control over where they feel comfortable leaving their child.
Tengo otra pregunta, Alejandra. Por ejemplo, se está trabajando en el emprendimiento y apertura de nueva cosecha de educadoras y asistentes a su vez. Dado el caso que ellas tengan la apertura de sus programas, ¿podrían llegarle familias inicialmente bajo este programa a estas nuevas proveedoras?
I'll translate that into English. So Marita had a question about newer educators. So there are new educators through Cosecha and other programs that are being established currently. And so she was wondering if we could connect those educators with the families. So the one thing is if they're given the license to open early, or if they set their hours early, because we know in the beginning stages of being an educator, your license is not as kind of advanced as it is later on. So if you're given the license to open at 5:45 and you've given that ability, then we can send families and they can come to us. But oftentimes what we're seeing from licensors is that licensors would like to see you be open at least 1 full year and have gone through the process of at least one kind of visit and seen you through the process before they give you the non-standard hour care license variants. But if you start out with the variants, or if you start out with the permissions to open earlier, then you can definitely be a part of the pilot.
Okay. Gracias, Alejandra.
Gracias, Marita.
We still have a couple of minutes for questions. And these all have been great questions. So if anybody else has a follow-up question or something that is still not clear, we have around 5 minutes to address it. If there are no more questions, I will let you all go and oh, there is. What part of the city is in need?
Yeah, great question. So as I said a few minutes ago, there's need throughout kind of the city. So it varies greatly. But what I will say is that our focus was primarily the Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan area initially. That is where we wanted to try and match as many families as possible. But we are open to across the city. We need educators from across the city because it is both a mixture of families from the Boston area that are looking for care, but also the greater Boston area. Because we do know that there are many families that want care near their construction site as well as near their home. So it's a mixture. The need is kind of spread out. How can you find out if you are eligible? If you are a family child care educator and you have been open at least a year, you are likely eligible to be a part of our pilot as long as you are able to get a variance on your license, you can become a part of our pilot. If you're under a year, but you have the ability to open earlier, then you can also be a part of our pilot. But most people under a year don't typically have the license variance ability like others do.
These are all great questions. I've learned so much.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I joined late. But the variance, would Care Works help us to get the variance, or do we need to apply for the variance on our own?
Yeah, so we can help you through the process, and it's pretty easy. Santiago usually will help if need be. We kind of have like a form that you can send over to your licensor or put in the portal. And if you face any issues, we can help you. So whether it's talking to your licensor if they have follow-up questions, or if there are more questions or more issues or problems, we can even reach out to your regional director and solve them. EEC is well aware of our pilot and is very encouraging of it. So we can help you through the process of receiving your variance. It's pretty easy and straightforward, and most licensors are pretty know about it and are able to kind of turn around and give you the variance fairly quickly in that process.
Thank you.
And there is one last question in the chat. It's in Spanish, but I'll translate it in English. And the question is, so if I've only had my license for less than a year, can I participate or not yet?
So it would be best if you had your license for over a year, is what we've seen from the licensors. I would say you could try and reach out to your licensor and see if they would be willing to let you get the variance. But from what we've seen is that licensors prefer you to have at least 1 year of experience as an educator before you try and do something kind of different with your program. So I would recommend that you reach out to your licensor and say, hey, I saw this pilot program and I'd be interested. Do you think I'd be eligible to make a change to my license to do non-standard hour?
And what were the non-standard hours again? Can you please remind me?
So the start would be 5 to 5:30, 5 to 5:45 basically is the early time period. And then if there's a family that has kind of evening care, that would be that has a different kind of time range. We don't really have any families that have currently asked for that care. We've predominantly been working with families that are looking for care around 5 to 5:45.
One last question from Catalina. Última pregunta, ya que nos estamos acercando a la hora. Está en mute. No la oímos, está en mute.
Aproximadamente un mes que yo firmé los documentos, pero en el portal para poner la aplicación se me hizo un poco difícil y Santiago dijo que me iba a ayudar, pero no sé qué pasó porque no se comunicaron más conmigo.
Santiago, so she just had an issue with the licensing in the portal. So Santiago will follow up with you just to make sure that we have that resolved. Because I think you might be on the list. I thought I saw your name on the list, but we'll double check and Santiago will follow up tomorrow.
Disculpe, ¿puedes repetir su nombre? Can you repeat your name, please?
Catalina Alcántara.
Catalina. Ok, Catalina, la voy a poner aquí en la lista. Yo la voy a dar una llamadita mañana, ¿o yo?
Ok, porque la mamá del niño, ella quiere, yo a veces se lo cojo más temprano porque yo le digo, no, es que todavía yo no he recibido nada y ella me pregunta todos los días, ay, pero por favor, ¿en qué quedaste? Porque ella fue que me recomendó y me puso en esto. Y
Sí,
yo le digo,
como
no,
estaba explicando, hay ciertos requisitos que estamos tratando de trabajar con un cierto grupo de familias, pero como quieras podemos conectarnos mañana y podemos explorar un poquito más, ver dónde está su caso. No hay problemas con eso.
Gracias. Sí, yo le digo, tráemelo como quiera, no te preocupes.
She's just a family child care provider who, like many, have already been taking in children, for early hours, just trying to help families out because many folks sometimes have these off hours and unfortunately, many folks are not open to, taking in children early. So she does it as a favor, just to help these folks out. So she wants to explore a little bit to see if she's able to participate in the pilot. So I'll be connecting with her tomorrow to see what that looks like, and see possibly connecting her with Helen or see how I can help her. So no worries. Thank you. Hablamos, Catalina, mañana. Gracias.
Y the last question, because this is a fast one, I think. What are the hours you are mostly getting requests for exactly?
5 to 5:45 in the morning. That is the one we have the most.
Yeah, that's really where we're at. Even sometimes earlier when we try to stick to 5 a.m., but it's 5. And we keep in consideration that if a provider is opening at 5, they obviously have to wake up possibly before 4 a.m. So we try our best to 5:45 is the sweet spot.
And then I'll answer the until when. That will vary depending on the family's needs and also the number of hours that you can work. So some families might need that will depend on the family's needs. So it's very case by case basis. Some families are picking up their kids by 2 p.m. and some might be a little later based on your comfortability with having a child that long in your program. Also recognizing the fact that the number of hours that you can work.
Exactly. We need to abide by EC law, so you can't work more than, what is it? I'm going for
I think it's
10 hours a day. Yeah.
The kids
So-
can't be there longer than 10.
Mhm. So seeing that we're at time, I want to be mindful of everyone's time because I know that all of you have very, very long days and you should get some rest and you should get some time to not think about your childcare and enjoy. So, and I see some laughs. But if you have more questions, things that are not clear, please reach out to Alejandra, Santiago, Helen, myself, Farah, and we will follow up. We will also be sharing the presentation and a recording of this. So you can go back to it and see all the questions, see the details. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Emily, for translating. Thank you, Alejandra and Santiago, for your support.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Farah, for setting up the Zoom and coordinating everything so it goes smoothly. Have a very nice night.
Thank you.
Stay
Buenas
warm.
noches. Gracias
Bye,
a
everyone.
todos.
Gracias.
Muy interesante.
noches. Bye.